which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. This is why he makes the big bucks. Yeah. Best finance man in the business. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out. For mayor's comments, there's lots of stuff to talk about undoubtedly, but we've got a busy agenda and I want to move along quick. As far as the budget committee, I would like to reappoint Clay Davis, Julie Watte, and I would like to appoint Ron Tolinar III, Ron Tolinar's son, who had been on the planning commission for years and years and years. And we still have one vacancy, so I'd love to see applications, but for the budget committee, I'd like to appoint those folks, and I'd also like to appoint Bonita Clark to the library board. So if there are any questions or concerns from the council, I'd love to hear that right now. Hearing none then, is everybody fine with those appointments?
Absolutely.
Marvelous then. Well, those folks are appointed then, and I will move from mayor's comments to council comments, and we'll start with Councilor Heaton, because obviously Councilor Graham is still rehabilitating and is not with us, but I know he will be back as a force next month. So, Councilor Heaton.
Okay, I put on some tables that a notice of the green party at the hospital. This is a seed starting party on March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day. So wearing of the green and getting your green and getting tomato starts and things like that. It's going to be in the room off the cafeteria in the hospital. And my daughter has a great deal to do with that. So, and she's done it, this is the 3rd year now. And she prepares a lot of things to give away, and it's going to be fun. So be sure and go.
All right, Council President Weiss.
I have nothing, sir. Thank you.
Voice for brevity. Councilor Chappelle.
Nothing, sir.
Really?
Wow, I don't.
All right, Councilor Short.
Well, I have one thing, just one thing. I received a phone call about a week ago from a lady over at the Coos Art Museum, and they're having an art and cultural rally and charm trail, which I think is very exciting. Is what they're trying to do. It's their 50th year, and they're trying to get 50 different cultural menus from Reedsport down to Bandon, including Coquille, and they're hoping for Powers. And the purpose is to get people who are on vacation or traveling and want to see things to come. And so it starts, the date she told me, it starts April 1st until December 31st. And what you do is, for instance, she called because of the carousel. So what we would do, if we choose to do it, which we have, is that we signed up, and what they do is they have a brochure, and it talks about all the different places. And like I said, they're trying to get 50 of them. And where, for instance, if you had an hour or two and you want to go and you come and say, let's go to Coquille, I haven't been there. Oh, let's go see the carousel. It would tell you the time they're open. It would tell you the days are open and all about it and how to get there. And for instance, I think they're trying to get perhaps the museum also, and also the sodisters and anybody else like that. And the way the charm comes in is I think you must buy a bracelet from them. But we would have carousel charms. And so if you come to the carousel, then you could buy a charm to put on your bracelet. And the idea is to get 50 of them, and you have like 6 months to do it in. And then you go back to the art museum, and I think they have a gift for you. But anyway, I just think it's exciting because it's going to really bring people into not only Coquille, you know, who want to see it, but the things that we have in the different towns. So I think it's a really good way for lots of people to come and visit Coquille and the different areas. So I'm excited that we're going to do it.
When are they going to do that?
It starts April 1st and it goes through December 31st. So it's a long time. Yeah, that's a long time.
Thank you, Linda. Councilor Gabart.
Okay, Dave Chappelle and Susan Heaton and I went to the tribal grant presentation and received a grant which Officer Charles Hill wrote. And he had to work, so that's why we were there on his place. And so that was very nice. We had a very nice lunch, lots of people. And then I want to thank all the people who came last Saturday night. That was a great presentation that Kathy put on. Thank you very much. Thank you for my award. And then we have the nonprofit group coming up March 21st. Is different nonprofit groups are going to have a display, and the carousel is one of them. And I have some information for you on that. And then on the 22nd is the Nonprofit Association of Oregon is going to be putting on a 3-hour seminar. So all the people who belong to nonprofits need to call the phone number, which I have, and attend that. So you'll meet all kinds of people there.
All right, thank you, Councilor Capehart. Let's go to staff reports. Let's start with Library Director Connor.
Thank you. I had one thing to add to my report. There was something that had not been completed when I wrote the report, and it is completed. I think that might be the upgrade, computer upgrade at the Coquille Library is complete. We're back on track. We have new equipment. Everything's working better than it was before. Not just the internet access for the public, but our internal workings. And we're glad to be back on track, and the public is glad to be back on the internet. But if you have any questions from my report, I'd be glad to answer it. I'd like to repeat, we're having trivia April 3rd, 2nd.
April 2nd?
Yep, Saturday. The closest date to April Fool's Day we can find. 8 to a team, $15 a head. Guaranteed, unrestrained hilarity for all.
And when is the next book sale?
We are hoping to have the book sale ready to go at the end of April, June, March, April. End of April and beginning of May. The 29th, 30th, and 1st.
Very good.
We're frantically sorting these books. They're going to be well sorted for the book sale.
Very good. Any questions for Library Director Connor? All right then, thank you very much. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Public Works Report, Mr. Urban.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have anything to add to the report, but if you look at number 4, I think one of the spots that we're kind of discussing, and that I've been discussing with Joe Slack over at HGE, is whether we want to have a deep fryer or not. He's saying that, you know, in all likelihood, we have to have a Type 1 fire suppression hood, which is going to be about $8,000 to have a fryer in there. You may want to wait until we have the estimate of the whole thing, or you may want to make that decision at some other point, like, well, now you could if you wanted to.
My estimation for $8,000 for french fries is no.
No.
Well,
Sergeant Ned.
French fries, corn dogs, there's a lot of things you can deep fry. I mean,
I
here in
understand
Texas,
that.
you know,
None of which do we
Snickers
need for
and butter.
$8,000.
Right, and if that really is the will of the council, that's something I could pass on to him and he can take it out and not have to deal with it anymore.
Consensus? No?
Well, also, you said you could do it later if you choose to, right?
Certainly, yeah.
Why are we waiting?
There's no reason why I don't want one in there. That's not.
You want one?
I don't want one, but I'm saying you.
There's 4 votes right there.
No. You corn dogs.
Gone.
Okay, no, this is precisely what I was looking for. If y'all don't want it, why have him go and get
That's
estimates and prices?
That's it.
Like that?
Deep fat is bad for everyone.
If
This
they
is
want,
very
if
true.
they want fries or corn dogs or burritos, they can go.
And you're from the South, and you're saying that. That's
Councilor Graham called me and squeaked over the phone. No french fries. No.
I don't believe you, sir. But I say that respectfully. Okay, so thank you for that clarification, appreciate it, I'll pass that on.
Perfect.
Thank you very much,
I
Kevin.
have something.
Yeah, yes, Linda.
Today,
Go ahead.
today at the county retirees lunch, they asked about the forest cutting, what was going on there. Are we cutting trees now?
I don't believe so. I think they're gonna be doing that, next winter.
When,
Next winter, Ben would know more.
next winter?
Yes.
That's the plan.
Okay.
They did ask for an extension on their contract to complete the harvest next winter. Last fall, they just, after putting in the roads over the summer, they hauled away the logs from that cutting, and then they're taking a break to focus on other projects. Under contract, they would have started in the spring, but it works better for their scheduling and operations to do it all at one time next fall. And it doesn't really make a difference to the city if they have to go back in the fall anyway. It's not going to get the new seedlings planted any sooner. So we gave them that extension, but they're still going to keep to their original payment schedule of this April and next October or December to make the major payments on the contract, and then they'll true it up at the end of the operation next spring.
I didn't have a real good answer. I thought it was December, but, okay.
Very good. All right.
Um,
Yes.
I was, maybe I'm the only one that feels this way, but I was amazed at how long this concession thing is. It's 27 feet. I went and got my tape measure out, I went to my front room, to my front window.
And your dining room.
I wasn't thinking it was gonna be that big either, and I said, you know,
Whoa.
do we really need to go this far? And his answer was, why not put the room you need, it's really not gonna cost that much more to add, 4, 8 feet or whatever else we need. Now, taking the deep fryer out, we might need to do it, but I think he kinda wants to use that set of doors, and use the entire area, the one that's screened off now. He
Yeah,
wants to use
yeah.
that entire thing for the counter, to pass through.
Why would we need the entire doors on that hallway to the?
That's,
Hey, Ben?
So some observations from an operational standpoint. It's really, you have this room as a utility. This is going to replace the rolling bar for all of the events.
Right.
The caterer will have ample room to store everything securely behind the counter, behind a closed door. The wide counter will allow more rapid service, so you don't have long lines and queuing. Some of it's a function of the space, because you have the double doors, then the space, and then another set of double doors. And it's really, that's what's dictating the length, so that they can use one set of double doors as entry and the other as a pass-through window. And so that makes it longer, because you're not taking out the whole wall in between and, reconfiguring the structural side of the large auditorium.
So it'll be used, excuse me, not only for the bar and that type of thing, but also when the pool's open, correct?
Yeah, there's a
Same thing.
pass-through window out to the pool, so there's two is to it.
So who's there gonna be volunteers, who are gonna be selling things, or what's that gonna be?
I imagine we'll be using it much like we do the commercial kitchen. Sometimes it's volunteers, sometimes it's rented out, sometimes it could be a full commercial caterer that's hosting a party. It's an asset to the community center that I think will get a lot of use.
I do too, yeah.
And we're talking 30 years on this thing too, which
I know,
I think
it
is
just
pretty
seems
cool.
great.
It makes me cringe when I think about it, but you're right. Yeah,
30 feet?
yeah.
When we talk about municipal investments, I like to compare it to people's homes, because that's what they can relate to. And if you are serving 300 people a day in your home kitchen, how much wear and tear would it take, and how much more space would you really need?
Yeah, yeah.
Think about that. Go ahead.
Oh, and Chuck had something to add to the
Yes, Chuck.
conversation.
Yeah. I would think moving the microwave and putting that fryers when you get the $8,000 to do it. When the council approves that it would be better to put them on the outside instead of next to the interior wall. When I looked at that, I thought, well, those fryers should go on the outside so when the fan is pulling up that grease smell, it would go more into the air instead of next to the building.
Well, it was my understanding that the council just kind of made a consensus that we weren't gonna have fryers in there.
So you wouldn't need ventilation?
We're not gonna have fryers.
No, not that kind of
Okay.
ventilation. You might wanna have some kind of roof vents, but you're not really gonna be, you're not gonna be frying in there, it's not gonna be the same.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what you had planned was for the fryer?
Yeah, for the
Okay.
fryer, and it would have a fire suppression system, and it has to have an air recirculator where it draws from somewhere else. There's a lot to it. That's why I brought it up, and if y'all aren't gonna have it, then I'll send the architect, an email tomorrow and say, fryers are gone.
Well, it seems that the council thinks the fryers are gone, and I didn't even want a snack shack, so there you go. So,
Concession stand, sir.
oh, forgive me. 10,000 here, 10,000 there, then we get a snack shack. Yes, Linda, sorry.
Sorry. Well, the weather's nicer. I'm a visual learner. I would really appreciate if sometime you could take me around the river, down toward the, Johnson Mill Park. I know you can't drive, I can't walk the whole, but I would like to see as far as I can go so I can see for myself. Also, the 100 acres, I would like to kind of see for that for myself. And also the Jefferson lots. I'm up there a lot, but I just kind of like to see where they all are for myself so I can visually see them. And anything else like that, I'd appreciate that.
Sure, we'll make a date.
Thank you.
There you go.
They can take the council.
Now, I know
Yeah.
you're from Texas, you've been to the Texas State Fair. Now I know why you don't want a deep fryer. You don't want deep fried butter.
They do butter, yeah.
It's part of our health and wellness initiative.
Deep fried Milky Way, deep fried this,
Fried
that.
Snickers, deep fried everything.
Twinkies.
Twinkies.
Of course, that ain't too bad.
Chuck, you wanted to offer something?
We're talking a concession trailer, and it already doesn't have a grill, and you're not gonna put a french fryer in it. What concessions are you exactly gonna sell?
No grill?
Now, if you put a grill in there, you need a hood, just like you need with a deep fryer.
That's a good question.
Cotton candy, popcorn.
Probably gonna be popcorn, cotton candy,
Hot dogs.
microwavable hot dogs.
Frozen treats. in
Cheese
the
and nachos.
summertime, Nachos, candy bars,
Probably the same thing as the Kiwanis cart sold when they were there.
more or less.
Yeah.
If it's good enough for the Texas State Fair, it should be good enough for us.
Well, then you want a deep fryer.
No, I don't.
Okay.
But I think it needs to be on that outside, here instead of here.
Right, but it's not gonna, I've heard we're not gonna have it. I'm gonna,
Now, Mr. Urban, how much is the grand total for this estimated to be?
it hasn't been done yet.
All right,
It's not complete.
just a guesstimate.
I don't know, I have no idea.
Well, we already know how much the deep fry would have cost, so it's a lot of Snickers
And
bars.
that's why you brought it up, because it would be a big expense. So that's why I brought it to you.
It's a lot of Armor S hot dogs microwaved. Thank you very much.
No, I think we probably end up putting those in one of those rotating hot dog.
Oh, we got one of those.
Machines with the bun warmers underneath.
All class.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Mr. Urban. Any other questions for the Public Works Director? Thank you very much, Kevin. The fire chief is not with us, and obviously Mr. Marchant is the acting police chief. So are there any questions regarding those two departments the council would like for the city manager? Hearing none then, all right, we'll move on to the finance director's report. Mr. Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our investment account is earning 2.28%, and the duration of the bonds are 2.86 years. I started working on the budget, and it became apparent to me that I would not be able to have a proposed budget available for the March meeting. We had scheduled earlier on the budget calendar a March meeting and then an April meeting. And so I spoke with the mayor, and what we are going to do, well, if the council approves it, is to amend our budget calendar. So we still have our first meeting the third Monday in April, like we always do. I will get the packet out a week early, so the council and available to the public, they'll have a week to review it instead of a weekend. And if we need a second meeting, we can schedule it at the end of the first meeting to go into more detail. And so one of the items I'll have tonight is to adjust the budget calendar. And
Is that number 11 that you're talking about, Chuck?
Yes, I believe it was number 11.
Okay.
And then the staffing, I have an open position, and I've got 17 applications, and I'll try to schedule the interviews towards the end of this week and try to get some more back in. And I want to thank my staff for working very hard for a couple of months now, and keeping everything running. That's it.
Thank you very much, Chuck. Any questions for Finance Director Duffner? All right, thank you,
Mr.
Mayor.
Mayor, could we adopt that revised budget calendar right now?
If you would like to.
Rather than go up, wait until we have to go back over it again?
I am totally in favor of that, so if you'd like to do that.
I would move that we adopt the revised budget calendar as presented.
Council President Lisa made the motion. Is there a second? Council Chappelle seconds. Discussion. All those in favor of adopting the revised budget calendar say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Thank you very much, Council President Lisa. All right. City Manager's Report. Mr. Marchand.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. First, I'd like to share a report from Councilor Graham, who could not be with us tonight. He says his surgery went well, since he's still here. He's been home recovering for a couple of weeks now, but it has been a roller coaster ride. Some days he's feeling great, and other days not so much. But for the most part, he's been progressing well. He starts rehab this week, and we'll have a few more doctor's visits. He hopes to be back at the next council meeting in April. So that for Councilor Graham, please keep him in your thoughts and prayers. I handed out to the council some additional information on the police department activities. This is a new report that I think I'll begin to track each month that shows not only their arrests and citations, but the number of incidents they are called to respond to and the number of criminal cases that result from those contacts. And I think that, that can often occupy their time when they might otherwise be out on the road running traffic. Since last Friday, I've had a number of things come up that I could not include in my report. One is we got the appraisal back on the Jefferson lots for the subdivision, and while they weren't as high as we were hoping they might be, it was very difficult to find decent comparables that weren't an isolated bare ground in the middle of the woods up on a steep slope. So they are what they are, but we'll bring that to the next council meeting to make a declaration of surplus and a plan for disposing of the property. I've had some communication with our pool manager and Sharon Nelson at the school district to talk about doing another water safety program. The school would like to do this in the last 2 weeks of May because that's when their school year opens up and becomes the most flexible. And it's also ahead of the water season where we'd really like to teach those children about water safety, from buckets to jacuzzis, hot tubs, lakes, water, rivers, streams, wading pools to deep pools. And the challenge for us is it's 2 extra weeks on the pool season, and we're proposing, if we do this, we do it on the front end, and rather than extending the pool season 2 weeks later in September, we'd end at Labor Day, but we'd open the pool 2 weeks earlier, which would move that expense from September to May for the heating of the pool and having all that work. They wouldn't be in the pool very much because several of the days are going to be just more talking about water safety, life vests and boating, and we're talking about bringing in the sheriff's office and the Coast Guard and EMTs and paramedics from the fire department to talk about safety for the children. And so because there will be a cost and we need to get lifeguards, Sharon seems to be confident that our high school lifeguards from last year will be in need of service hours and they'll be released from school to assist with this program. And if that works, that's great. But I've been asked to talk about this program to the Rotary Club on Wednesday as well to see if there's any financial support to offset the cost of this program. And so we'll be talking about that some more, but I wanted to give you a heads up that that is in the works.
All right, thank you very much, Ben. Any questions for the city manager on his report? Well, thank you very much, Ben. Before we approve the, before we go to public participation, since we're doing things a little bit out of order tonight, I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint Patricia Davis Gibson as our municipal judge. Is there a motion to that effect?
I move that Patricia Davis Gibson be appointed as our municipal judge.
Council Eaton's made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Council President Weiss seconds. Discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor of appointing Patricia Davis Gibson as our municipal judge, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, very good. Let's go to public participation. Did everybody who wanted to talk sign up on the sheet? That is very important for keeping the minutes. Renee wanted me to say that again. Thank you very much. All right, we've got, and very good handwriting with good notes. Gene Ivy, 2 things. So, all right, would the distinguished publisher of the Sentinel like to come down and share her thoughts with us? Name and address for the record, just because the audio tape wants it, even though you wrote it down.
Gene Ivy, 1195 North Elliott Street. And last month when I was here, you voted to...
Oh, could you speak to the microphone? Forgive me.
Am I doing that?
So they
They
hear you
can't hear you in the
behind.
back.
They can't hear you.
They can't hear you back there.
Now?
There you go.
Better. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Gene.
Last month, when I was here, you voted to reinstate the GP whistle, and I would like to know what the status is on that, since it isn't blowing.
Well, the fire chief was going to give us a report tonight. He's not with us. And I voted in favor of getting it back. I know Council President Weiss was not here when we took that vote, and there are questions over the noise ordinances. Ben, would you like to speak for the fire chief on this?
Yeah, for the benefit of the public that may have not have seen Chief Waddington's report, and he couldn't be with us because he was on an ambulance transport to Springfield, Riverbend. The whistle information he's able to gather so far is that the clock needs a new timing device, which would be approximately $300. A new 2-inch electronic valve, approximately $300 to $500. A decibel level gauge for testing levels, approximately $50. Chief plans to test it this next week, and if he can get the old system to work for a decibel test, then we'll have that information. He has not found a good solution to muffle the whistle at this time. So we're working on it, and there are some expenses that will be coming, and I understand a financial commitment has been made to cover some of the costs, but we're waiting to see what the chief is going to do next.
So what do you figure the time frame is on that?
I don't know.
I only ask about time frame because my second item is one that I have brought before you the first time in September the 18th. Fran, you asked me to write a letter, which I did, put it in your packets. No one knew about the letter, at the next council meeting, and I do know that it was in the packet, but I will read it to you now if you will bear with me. Dear council, it has come to the attention of the public that the city of Coquille has made it possible for all city employees and their families to swim at the Coquille Community Pool free, while citizens who campaigned for and raised funds for and continue to support the pool must pay increasing fees. Our city manager has explained that because of the health benefits gained from the exercise of swimming, the city insurance carrier gives a better rate if this service is offered free to insured employees. We are all concerned with health. I would suggest that our city not only be concerned with the health and insurance premiums of its employees, but of all citizens who face these same circumstances but are less able to finance them. Compare the average $21,000 per year wage earned by people living in Coquille with the salary of our city manager, which is over $89,000 plus benefits, and tell me who should swim free. I used your salary then just because it was the first one on the list, and I'm not saying you don't earn that salary, or any of the city employees. I'm just making the comparison. I proposed before city employees, we should allow free swimming for health reasons to our veterans. I also would like you to consider our senior citizens on fixed incomes. They deserve a way to improve their health and very often do not have enough money to eat healthy food, much less exercise properly. What about children of citizens on public assistance? Wouldn't our city employees rather see these children swim free and pay for their own because they are better able? Please do not disenfranchise City Hall from the tax-paying citizens of your community. Do not give city employees exclusive benefits. Just as a further note, I made a bet with Ethel Petrie in September that you people would address this in a timely manner, and she bet me $5 that you would not address it within a year of my first, and so come on, $5. Give me a hearing on this, discuss it, say something.
I'm not sure how you would administrate this, how they would identify themselves as, for instance, low-wage people. Now, the veterans would have a card saying they are a veteran, but the others, I'm not sure how to identify them without hassling them or embarrassing them, for one thing.
Only retired veterans would have a card, retired from the service.
Okay.
Okay. There been talked a little bit about the meeting at Rotary. Sharon Nelson is, I don't think we've formed a committee yet, but there were several people, Kathy wanted to be on it, several people asked to be on that committee to look at the whole pool situation again. And so if to include Myrtle Point, Powers, because they were talking about the children, the swimming of the children. And so it didn't come up at Rotary this past week, and I'll be gone this week and next week. So I won't be at Rotary for either one of those meetings. So,
What does Rotary have to do with
well,
city employees?
that's where this came up about the swimming pool, because Sharon was talking. And so Ben, well, do you have anything more on that committee?
No, it really hasn't formed into a formal committee yet. There are few people that are interested about this issue and talking about it. And with respect to Ms. Ivy's proposal, you know, we have several vacancies in the city, first of all, that we'd love to fill and hire veterans for and give people more access to the pool. But beyond being a little lighthearted that way, there really hasn't been this need for people to take advantage of the pool and get free swims, because we had an abundance of free swim passes available this last summer, and they did not get all used, and no one was ever turned away. So everyone that wants to swim, that has a financial burden, can request a free swim pass, and they've been made available to the businesses that have sponsored the pool, and many people are involved. I know other service clubs in the community, including Rotary and Kiwanis, have purchased swim passes and distributed them to those members of the community that might not otherwise be able to afford to go to the pool all the time. And so as long as we have leftover free swim passes, I'm not convinced that this is as big a problem as it's being made out to be.
I just have one comment. Last year, when you said that same thing to me, after the meeting I went to, you gave me several places where they were. One of the places was the chamber office, and the other one was FARS. I can't remember the rest. Those are the two I went to. Neither one of them had passes. So.
Well, a lot of them left them at the front desk of the pool to be handed out on their behalf, so there were still tickets at the front desk of the pool.
At the pool?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Ben. Kathy Simonetti, come on down. You're not on The Price is Right, but you're at a Coquille City Council meeting.
Close though.
Better.
Yeah, this is even better. You're right, Ben. It's more fun. Kathy Simonetti, 16 East First Street, Coquille. I just want to take a second to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your State of the City speech at our Chocolate Fantasy. And I want to thank the council for their support, and the community for their generous donations, and their support and volunteering to make this possible. Thank you to the city for co-hosting it with us. And I'd like to especially thank Jean Ivy and the Sentinel for the generous trophies that they provided for FARS and Anna Schroeder. And that's it for me. Pardon? It was really, really wonderful. And also, I just want to do a little insert about the pool. Kiwanis is also interested in working with Rotary. We have that potato bake coming up on the 17th of March at the community center, and the funds that we raise for that will be to go towards the free passes at the community pool. I think they're going to do, instead of doing their free swim day, we're talking about merging with the Rotary group to put that money towards that, to give underprivileged children an opportunity to swim. So we are working on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy. And by the way, it was a great turnout at the chamber.
141, I think is, but well, 39 to 141, I think is what we
You
counted.
kept putting up tables. It was marvelous.
It was awesome. Thank you, everybody, for coming and your support.
No, I think the chamber deserves a round of applause for that. It was marvelous. All right, let's go to Suzanne Swan. It says not sure. Do you want to talk, Suzanne?
No.
All right, now you're sure. All right, thank you. We've got Reserve Officer Hyatt, sir. What would you like to share with us?
I'd like to discuss the GP whistle, if I could, please. So one of the things that was brought to my attention after the meeting was voted on, why wasn't it put out to the public to get the public's opinion on reestablishing the GP whistle?
Now, the Sentinel did do an informal poll, but I hear your perspective on that, and
Mr. Mayor, my perspective is my business at 70 West 3rd is directly across the street from this whistle. Has any one of you been in my parking lot or the fire department's parking lot when this whistle was went off?
Yeah.
You're standing in my parking lot when I've got a customer that I'm talking to, that may be Fran's age, maybe a 20-year-old, and they jump a foot off the ground and about have a heart attack because the pressure and the noise volume, that is not only a city ordinance violation, but also a state ordinance, noise ordinance violation in that aspect.
We are working on the decibels, that's one of the things we talked about.
Right.
So what?
We have to get it within, I think, my opinion is we have to get it within city, our ordinance, so it complies with our ordinance.
Also, I had a question, I mean, a comment too, because I think I was in the office when you came in and talked to Ben for a second. Does it have to be where it is? Could it be changed, the location? And also, does it have to be 3 times a day? It can do is
It
only.
doesn't have to be any of those.
But I'm saying, I mean, I'm all for the whistle,
Yeah.
okay? I
Yeah.
want-
Don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with the whistle.
Yeah.
If it was relocated back down to the GP lot where it's
Yeah.
originally at,
Right by
I would
my
have
house,
no
yeah.
problem. But when it is directly across from my business, not only does it hurt my business because it stops me from doing whatever we're doing with our customers, but it's also an issue with how much does the city want to spend on lawsuits if somebody falls and breaks a hip in my parking lot because they're scared.
I would like
Believe you
to,
me, from standing in my parking lot, you can feel the pressure from that whistle going off.
I would like to corroborate what you're saying, because my neighbor is Mary Farr Woolley. She said that it comes into her store, scares the customers who are not used to it, and even those people who are used to it. She said the minute it goes off, you can see people driving and stopping and being confused.
Absolutely. Not only that, my secretaries that are in the office, if they're on the phone, that phone call is obsolete, they can't hear. Okay? Customers outside, it'd be like me talking to you and we'd be having a screaming match. And we're standing right next to each other and I still can't hear it. Then you have to take into the account with the decibel level that it's been, the noise damage or the hearing loss and hearing damage to my employees and not only myself. How much is the city willing to spend on this element? That's my point. So that's my question to the city.
Seems there'll be further discussion about this issue.
I wouldn't be a bit opposed about moving it. I mean, I was approached by a gentleman in our town to consider moving it either to the GP site.
Put it back to the GP light or
Well, the
whatever.
problem with the GP side, where would you put it? You got a
I don't
compressor,
know.
you got
I mean, I'm just-
electricity, you got lines, you got blah, blah, blah. I mean, if it was, if there was something down there to do it on, that'd be great.
That's something to consider.
Yeah.
That's something to consider. Or move it out, I wouldn't necessarily want to put it up by Sturgeon Park, I mean,
Yeah.
You don't want to scare anybody
I don't
there.
want, you got people camping out there, and stuff like that, so. But I wouldn't be a bit opposed to putting it out towards the GP site.
Yeah.
Also, it doesn't have to be 3 times a day.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we want it to be historically accurate, right? 10, 12, and 5.
Well, then you want it over the GP thing. That's
The
the
state noise
Exactly.
is 65 decibels
Yeah.
for the state
Yeah.
for commercial.
And that's why, that's another reason that it's gonna take longer, is because you gotta find a way to muffle it down to where it's
Back to
within
the
our
steam
ordinance.
engine, I think. Ben
But I think
talked about.
Gene, don't you have a lot of signatures?
200 and some odd?
Over 200.
222.
Out of-
And so when you say the public doesn't know about it, I don't understand that.
And
Nobody came
how,
to my business and said, hey, how do you guys?
Well, we don't
feel
go
about
around to
this?"
businesses, I mean, you gotta read the newspaper
how
or something.
I read the
how long
newspapers.
did it blow before?
What's that?
How long did the whistle blow? I mean, how many years?
30 years.
30,
30 years,
Not where
and
that
there were
Not where it's
no
at.
lawsuits or
No, that's true.
accidents?
No, that's very true.
How attractive would the
With the
GP
condition
site
to
be
blow the whistle.
with the whistle there?
Very good.
They don't
Yeah,
care.
how attractive
Okay,
to
nothing.
Goose Curry?
It's within the decibels, it won't make any difference where it is, because you're talking about a loud horn,
Well, and the city manager talked about this and the efforts on this to compress the decibels, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're working on this, and I completely understand where you're at. And so hopefully we're gonna find a way to please everybody.
I just encourage the council to really look into this matter
I agree.
before they do, because like I said, with that, the city ordinance and the state ordinance, that whistle is in high violation of both of them.
Well, we need to address everything, the decibel issue, where to put it, versus the nostalgic issue.
Like I said, I'm
You
not
know,
opposed
I mean,
to the whistle.
No, I understand
If it
that,
was moved to a different location.
but we need to address everything.
My opinion is if somebody took this and put this in their garage how would their neighbors feel?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with, we have residences right around my business that are right next to the fire department in the same aspect. I mean, you're putting them through the same nuisance. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for doing business in Coquille. Let's see here. All right, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Is there a motion to adopt the consent calendar?
I make a motion that we approve the consent calendar for January 4th, February 1st, and February 12th.
Councilman Capehart's made the motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Councilor Heaton seconds. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, agenda item 9, ordinance 1500, an ordinance declaring the annexation of certain real property to the city of Coquille, Oregon. Ben?
All right, this is the solution that we've come up with for dealing with the hazard that we've identified at Ross Estates next to the elementary school, or the Head Start program and district offices. Under ORS 222.750, the city council may annex unincorporated territory surrounded by city limits. This is a very interesting piece of state legislation which recognizes that because the city limits completely encircle this area of unincorporated land, we have the authority to unilaterally annex it. Now, the council has the authority to annex the entire area, but the annexation doesn't go into effect for 3 years from the date the council makes that decision. In the interest of making nice with the neighbors, the proposal is just to annex the Ross Estates parcel and leave the remaining property owners out of the city. I did take letters of information to each of the neighbors within this area, with the exception of Milky Way Feed, because I'd already had a conversation with them previously, inviting them to let the city know if they were interested in being annexed at the same time. I did not receive any responses from anyone, and so we're just looking at Ross Estates. I did speak with one of the tenants at Ross Estates, whose home backs up right to the septic field, and they'd only been living there 2 months and had no knowledge of the failed state of the septic system. They had a toddler, and they are going to be our most vigilant assistants and recognizing when there is a problem that we can do something about. This annexation doesn't necessarily fix the problem, but it's one step closer so that when the anticipated emergency does occur, it makes the decision for DEQ very simple to authorize the connection.
All right, is there a motion to adopt ordinance, actually, do we need to read that by title?
Yes.
Is there a motion to read ordinance 1500 by title?
Motion, but don't you have to have a public hearing first?
We do need a public hearing.
Now, did we do this right in the setup for the agenda, or do we need to kick that back to the next meeting, or can we just declare a public hearing right now?
It's in the agenda under the agenda sheet.
A public hearing to take comment about the proposed annexation of Dawson State.
There we go. Yeah, I need to get my eyes checked. All right, well, I will call this public hearing regarding ordinance 1500 to order at 7:52 p.m. right now. All right, is there any comment for this public hearing regarding ordinance 1500? Hearing none, we will adjourn this public hearing at 7:52 p.m. Now, is there a motion to read this by ordinance by title?
Make a motion to read the ordinance 1500 by title only. An
All right.
ordinance declaring the annexation of certain real property to the city of Coquille, Oregon.
All right, very good. All right, is there a second to that motion by Councilor Capehart?
I second it.
Councilor Chappelle seconds. Discussion. All right. All those in favor of reading ordinance 1500 by title only, say aye. Aye. All right, opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, Now, is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1500?
I'm in a motion to go ahead. And I'm second.
Okay, so Councilor Heaton made the motion, Councilor Capehart seconds, in dueling motions. All right, is the city recorder ready to call the roll?
Just a second, we're having a side conversation.
Reread it by title.
You have the papers, okay.
I just had this one up.
Okay. Sorry, you can proceed. I was just discussing with the city recorder that there were two pieces that were supposed to go along with this. One was the annexation agreement with the owner of Ross Estates, and the other was the utility easement agreements with the owner of Ross Estates. A representative of Ross Estates is here this evening with the paperwork signed by the owner. And so if, after the ordinance is passed, the council would like to make a motion to authorize me to execute the agreements, we could do it that way.
That's nice.
All right, very good.
But we do have the owner's full support, and let that be clear for the record.
Excellent, excellent, that's nice.
All right, very good. So are you ready to call the roll, Renee?
Counselor Heaton,
Yes.
Counselor Weiss,
Yes.
Counselor Chappelle,
Yes.
Counselor Short,
Yes.
Counselor Capehart,
Yes.
Mayor Rouse.
Aye. All right, very good. The ordinance has been adopted.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we authorize the city manager to sign this agreement with the Ross Estate, Ross Estates, yep.
All right, Council President Weiss has made the motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Councilor Chappelle seconds. Discussion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, agenda item 10, resolution 01-2016, a resolution transferring appropriations between categories within the same fund. Mr. Duffner.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. When I was preparing the budget last year, I left out a line item concerning the interest that DEQ charges on our sewer loan. I went to a training where the State Department of Taxation was there. He said that was not there was not a problem fixing that just with a resolution, and so I prepared a resolution to move money from the contingency into the debt service for the sewer plant.
And basically, we're just talking housekeeping at this point in time,
We're just-
because the money's already been
The
appropriated.
money was appropriated.
Okay. I move resolution 01-2016, transferring appropriations between categories within the same fund.
All right, Council President Weiss has made the motion. Councilor Heaton seconds. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Resolution as we know, we're jumping past agenda item 11 because we did that. Agenda item 12, 02-2016, a resolution declaring certain personal property to be surplus property and providing for the disposition of such property. Mr. Duffner.
Mr. Mayor, this request came from the police department. They have two vehicles and the speed sign trailer out there. The units are in poor condition, and I know at least on the speed trailer, we tried many times to get the electronics to work, and they just don't. And so the department would like to declare them surplus and get rid of them.
All right, very good. Is there a motion to that effect?
I so move.
All right, is there a second?
Aye.
Council President Weiss has made the motion. Councilor Capehart seconds. All those in favor of adopting resolution 02-2016 say aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution has been adopted. All right.
So let me ask one question. So if I wanted to buy that trailer with that dysfunctional sign on it, how are we going to set that up?
Make me an offer. No. We can do it by sealed bid.
Okay.
So we can advertise it, the bids are due on a certain date, and take sealed bids
And this would go for all the other stuff?
to the high bidder.
Yeah.
Typically, we don't have a lot of takers for the cars, and we have, certain salvage yards that we have kind of an arrangement with, to take the cars off our hands. But, some of these cars may be of value to other departments, so we usually look to surplus them out to other agencies who could make use of them first.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah, we don't get as much money in that case, but
Yeah.
it goes to a good cause.
Okay.
All right, very good. All right, so we've got agenda item 13, resolution 03-2016. A resolution setting forth the city of Coquille's recommendation for the establishment of a Coquille ambulance district and adopting a tax for its ongoing operations and maintenance. Ben?
So this is an issue that we've been discussing a lot for some time now. The status of the ambulance fund has not improved over the years. The couple of years ago, it was running regularly with a negative cash balance in the red because even though it's treated like a business, that's a very unconventional way to run an ambulance because rarely do the income from the rides cover the cost of the operations.
In that deficit, we're not just talking $12.
No.
How much are we talking before?
Well, before we were talking about $30,000 a year.
Okay.
Whereas 5-6 years ago, we were operating with a positive balance of $15,000 to $20,000 a year. And after 5 years, after closer to $30,000 a year, I think. After 5 years, we'd have $150,000 to buy a new ambulance. And so we have an ambulance that's 5 years old and 10 years old. And in the last 5 years, we have zero in the ambulance fund balance to buy a new ambulance for the 10-year-old ambulance. And so this is an accumulated deficit while we've been able to move some money from the fire fund over to the ambulance to keep it in the black. We have not been able to set aside any funds for a new ambulance, and we're coming due, and we'll continue to make repairs and operate it the best we can, but the program just simply doesn't pay for itself. Some of the issues has been the declining revenues as with the rollout of the different health insurance programs at the federal level, the reimbursement rates have been reduced and reduced and reduced. 8 years ago, in 2008, we were writing off 26 to 28% of our billing. Today, we're writing off 56 to 62% of our billing. And if that doesn't take a big, huge chunk out of the operations, I don't know what does. Now, we have tried to increase our rates, but the more we increase the rates, the more they cause us to write off. And so we're not getting anywhere running it like a business because unlike businesses, we don't have the ability to charge for cost of doing business. We take whatever money we can get. Now typically the private insurance does pay their full fare, but that's only a part of the puzzle, and the overall operation is not healthy enough to sustain itself. We talked a year ago about the possibility of instituting a ambulance fee on the water bill, which could put the money into the fund that we need, but we don't feel that it's a very appropriate way to fund the ambulance because it's short-term. It's not going to necessarily adjust for the service area or cost of inflation. Right now, the ambulance is funded by its operations, and yet it serves an area of 400 square miles, a good chunk of this county, and many of the people that it serves aren't necessarily paying city taxes to have funds from the general fund or the fire fund be diverted into the ambulance fund. And so the logic is that if we were to work with the county in creating an ambulance district for that 400 square miles, a very small levy could generate the $100,000 a year to maintain operations, equipment, and get a new ambulance when it's needed.
Do we know what that number is yet?
No, we don't have a definitive answer. Chuck, you were discussing it with the county assessor at one point. Did you have was it just an estimate?
I do not think so.
Okay, we don't. Yeah.
Ben, are we within the time period to get this on the May primary?
Of which year?
Yeah.
Not this year. I don't anticipate it. I believe when Chuck spoke with the county assessor, this is a 12 to 18 month process. because there needs to be a number of hearings, and, you know, this is not something to be taken lightly. Obviously, a tax increase isn't going to be a very popular item on any ballot, but I think the case is that I think people would prefer to have an ambulance show up when they need one than not, or to see an ambulance broken down on the side of the road. And so I'm hopeful that the people that are within our current ambulance service area would see the value of funding just a very small portion of their property tax.
Well, this is basically our, I don't want to say our last effort, but it's our best effort to save the ambulance service as we know it today. Yeah.
You know, something new has been discovered in the world called crowdfunding. That you can have a GoFundMe site or a Kickstarter campaign. And I think people seem to have forgotten that the original crowdfunding was government.
That's right.
That we didn't want to stand watch or on fire bucket brigade. It was better to just pool our nickels and dimes and have professionals there for us. And so I think that the same logic applies that people would remember.
All right, is there a motion to adopt resolution 03-2016?
I make a motion that we adopt resolution 03-2016.
All right, Council Kabart's made a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Council Heaton seconds, discussion. All those in favor of adopting resolution 03-2016 say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion passes. All right, is there anything else for the good of the order?
One more thing, Mayor, I neglected during my comments to present the city with this award from CIS, our insurance carrier, for 30 years continuous membership in CIS.
Hey.
I think you gotta give it to Lauren because he was on their board of directors for years.
18 years. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, we will. Sure. One more thing I want to say before we leave. This brochure for the new police chief,
Wasn't that a good one?
I want to see it. I have written down, well done, and it's an excellent, excellent job. So,
I love the picture.
It is, it's perfect. If I was doing this, I would hope I could do as well.
Yeah.
It's an excellent job, and, yes,
Yeah.
very good.
And did the formatting, I
Yes.
did the writing, we made a great team, and, you know, the same day we published it, I heard from a police chief in Texas who friended me on LinkedIn that said it was a phenomenal brochure.
Excellent.
So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to resumes and applications pouring in.
Yeah.
I'm afraid with those supplemental questions, we made it a bit hard, so none of them have gotten
Yeah.
early. but
Yeah.
We're waiting.
Like, can you think? I mean, that's gonna be a toughie, you know?
Well, no, I've heard compliments about it too, and it's outstanding staff work. Great job, great job.
One other thing I would like, Kevin and Ann, when you're talking about the park down there, I talked to some people who have stayed down there, friends of mine actually. That's Sturtevant?
Okay.
They wanted to pay, but they couldn't find the box. And, yeah, and I thought, well, I know where it is. I went down here, well, it's only this far out of the ground. And so, in all the other parks I've been in, which has been a bunch, they're almost window level. So, I don't know what they were thinking of, but they couldn't find it. They gave me the money, and I went over and put it in after they left. So, if we could raise that box.
I'll take a look at that.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you can't pay it, you can't drive up to it and put it in from your window. You know, you've got to get out, get on your knees to put it in.
That shouldn't be too difficult.
Oh, perfect, thank you, that's it.
Marvelous, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else for the good of the order? This is your time, folks. Nothing else? All right, then we still have a vacancy on the budget committee, so if people want to get involved, this is your big opportunity. The budget is our most meaningful governing document from my perspective, and we love the citizen input, so we need qualified applicants. Maybe Kathy will apply. I know she joins everything. But all right, if there's nothing else, we're adjourned at 8:07 p.m.